My name's Tippy Amundson. I am a mother to 3 boys in Brooklyn Park. My neighbor and I had been making sure that the kiddos got off the bus stops every day and get to their houses. We saw an ICE agent, masked, tucked in between 2 garbage cans in a garbage can holding area in an apartment building. And we're waiting for kids to get off a bus, and there's a masked gunman hiding by a garbage can. So we honked at him and just wanted him to know that we saw what he was doing and that we were there and we were going to at least protect the kids that were getting off that bus. He radioed to his other fellow agents, and a SUV sped up towards us and told us that we were impeding and that we needed to leave. So we were doing that, and we were driving around the building, exiting the parking lot when a Brooklyn Park Police Department officer pulled into the parking lot. ICE drove up aggressively towards us. We tried to move out of their path because we absolutely had no idea that we would be being detained at that moment. And when they got out of the vehicle, they were shouting at us, "Why did you call the cops on us?" And then I was being pulled out of the car, and all of a sudden you're in this situation that as a kindergarten teacher, you never thought you would be in. And then that's kind of where it gets really weird. We were started to leave the parking lot, and we had not gone far. We see this officer start to have a seizure in the front seat. He took his mask off and was saying he didn't feel well, and then he started to have a seizure. I was served on the emergency response team at school, so if there was ever an emergency with a student, I was one of the 10 teachers who would respond to that. So we just said, I am medically trained. I can help get this man through these seizures. We were you need to pull over so that we can get him in the recovery position and make sure he's not going to choke. So they pulled over. The driver got out, undid my handcuffs. I ran around the front of the vehicle and then opened the door and was just trying to recline the seat because it was -18-ish outside. I didn't want him on the ground because that would have also then not helped the situation. You need to keep him warm, calm, and in the recovery position as he has those seizures. And he proceeded to have 3 seizures that we noticed. And I laid him down, and I was holding his head, trying to keep him up, but the recovery position is just on your side and then make sure your airways are open. They were frantically running around the vehicle trying to figure out what they were gonna do with us and call 911 and get him additional services. There was a moment while I was holding his head up that I all of a sudden just caught a glimpse of what was going on, and just this heavy weight of, he wouldn't do this for you. I walked back to another vehicle with one of the ICE agents and got in the vehicle, and we just kind of sat there and hung out for a little bit until EMS arrived. At that point I was so are we really taking us to the Whipple building? Because we kind of just helped you guys out a little bit. We were literally doing nothing wrong. And they're no, we're taking you down there. And I was okay. Their impact in our community is traumatizing a whole new generation of kids. It doesn't feel safe yet in our communities. Spring is coming, and our kids should be able to get their bikes out and feel like we can just bike to the basketball courts again like we did last summer. When our kids and when families are on the line, and when we're supposed to be having this focus on the worst of the worst, and that's not happening, and they're taking children, and knowing that Angie Craig voted for that is absolutely not what I think a Democrat should be voting for, and the ideals that I think of when I think of the Democratic Party. I know that the Democratic Party that I choose to subscribe to supports all of our neighbors, no matter where they're from. So when Angie Craig voted the way that she voted in support of ICE and in support of changing those laws, I was grateful that she wasn't my representative. And now at this moment, I don't want her to be my representative. I want somebody who's gonna go there and say, no, this needs to be reined in and this needs to be stopped. And so I really Going forward, I want to look for leaders who are going to go to Washington and who are going to say, like, we need to rein in DHS, we need to rein in their funding, we should probably move this money going someplace else. And that's why I can't wait to put a yard sign in my yard for Peggy Flanagan because she is wonderful, and I know that she's going to go to Washington and she's going to take my story and how our neighborhood is feeling and fight for us.